Welcome back, y'all. We are going to be talking about Last of Us. Now, I didn't do an episode 4 review because not much happened. And I don't want to say not much happened, but playing the game, and that's the only thing. Again, I'll be doing spoilers for episode 4 and 5 and comparisons to the game up until that point. No more looking ahead. I know it comes next, but we don't need to get into that. But knowing after episode 4 what comes next, who that kid holding the gun was in Joel's face at the end of episode 4, I was like, you know what, let me wait a week and I'll talk about Henry and Sam. So that's what I did, and I'm sorry this took so long. I went back home for Sunday Super Bowl to hang with my family. Hadn't been home since like New Year's Eve. So it was a great weekend. Hope you guys had a great Super Bowl Sunday. Am I allowed to say Super Bowl? Am I going to get canceled for that? Like, are they going to, I don't monetize these videos, so I don't know. We'll see. Big game Sunday, I guess. So we'll talk about a little bit about episode 4, but it sticks pretty close to the video game. I like the relationship building. We really see Joel taking Bill's letter to heart of we're put on this earth to protect people, to protect someone. I found my someone to protect. You have Tess, and obviously Bill doesn't know what happened to Tess, but you are put on this earth to protect someone as well. And I love episode 3 will forever go down as one of the best episodes of television ever. But we're moving on to episode 4, and it's just good interaction between Joel and Ellie, just good conversation, and they're just driving along. They listen to music. Ellie finds a porno mag of Bill's, and then they come upon a blockade of sorts on the highway, and Joel looking at it, and they play this so well where you don't see the frustration in Joel's face. You see warning bells going off. He knows why that's there. He knows that this isn't like some traffic pileup or something. He knows the exact reason why those cars are blocking the highway, why you can't get through unless you go through the city. Now, are there other highways? Sure, but I'm not mad about that. So I love so far Pedro Pascal's, and we're gonna get to big scenes. Big, nominating scenes. You see it at the Oscar reels, they're always yelling and, I gave it my all. I was there. I showed up. We're going to get to those scenes later. No spoilers. But the subtle acting Pedro Pascal has done so far, knowing how this world is, dealing with a kid that doesn't know how this world is, because she said herself she's never been outside the QZ, is so good. I've loved Pedro Pascal's performance. It's hard to top Troy Baker, and there's a line that he says. They go down into the city and they see some guy limping. Oh, help me, help my family. We're stuck. We need help. And he's like, put your seatbelt on. He's like, aren't you gonna help that guy? And in the game, he says, Ellie, he ain't even hurt. And in the show, he just says no. So I will say, I wanted to hear he ain't even hurt, because that's just a great line. But I understand just them saying no. It's not a criticism at all, but it's just that's a good line. Why'd you guys cut that? Come on. And they probably did both takes, and no probably just sounded better or something. I'm not questioning, because the creators of this show have done such a great job of adapting this. I'm okay with all of the changes they have made so far. That's just a small nitpick. But they crash because this is a trap by raiders, and they manage to get over on all. I think there's 3 raiders that they kill, and Ellie has to shoot one of them to let Joel kind of take the upper hand, and then Joel executes him. And Ellie is not doing great with that, and this is where the conversation comes in of how did you know it was a trap? I've been on both sides of it, and it's a small little moment in both this and the game. I think they do a little bit more in this one, where she's have you, she straight up asks, have you killed innocent people? And I can't remember if she asked that in the game. She might, but just like the small glimpse, like I was about to say inkling, but the small glimpse into Joel's past life of like, yeah, Joel's a hard ass, but you kind of have to be a hard ass to, to survive in this. Like, he doesn't trust anybody. But just that small glimpse into like how Joel has made it 20 years into this post-apocalyptic infected world is really scary. And they do a good job of, Bella Ramsey does a great job of like displaying that fear of like, she's kind of seeing Joel in a different light right now, because so far, like, yeah, Joel's been like an a-hole to her and like a little short, but she's never heard or seen this side of him, and it's very different. And I thought both parties played that so well. And this is where we see much more than what is in the game, because in the game they're just random raiders and we're escaping them. We're dealing with that tank that says like run on it a lot, and that's like kind of our main adversary, just kind of killing random NPCs as we make our way through the town and trying to escape. But Melanie Lynskey comes in, and it turns out that this is a rebel group that overthrew their Fedra QZ like kind of tyrants, and they go to it a little bit more in the next episode. But she's got a bunch of Fedra narcs in her captivity. I don't know. I can't think of words right now. I'm so sorry, guys. And she's questioning them. She's looking for someone named Henry and Sam. And she really wants to find Henry. And we don't know why in this episode. And she ends up killing the person she's interrogating, because they find the bodies that Joel and Ellie killed, but they think Henry did it. So she's very upset, and she's kind of leading this rebellion against Fedra, but also trying to smoke out all the people that were informing them to Fedra. And that's the stuff we find out in the next episode, because Joel and Ellie go to the top of a building to try and like rest, but Joel wakes up with a gun in his face, and it's Sam. And that's where that episode ends. It doesn't say Sam, but just with the gun in his face. So that's why I was like, you know what? Not much happens in this, so let me just wait to the next episode, because I pretty much know what's going to happen in the next episode. And the next episode, they do it really well, because in the game, you meet Henry and Sam in basically the same fashion. There's like a little more, like Joel and Henry get into like a little bit of a fist fight before. It's a great moment in the game, because Henry is fighting Joel until he sees Ellie. And he's like, oh, you have a little girl with you. You're not a bad guy. Because these guys that are, going around killing literally everybody, like in the game, they have like a body strapped to their Humvee that's got a machine gun on it. And you see them just gun down everybody. So if you're not a strong male, basically, you're dead. And you get, raided and robbed and murdered. And so when Henry sees that Joel has Ellie with him, he's like, oh, you're not them. Like, you're at least like just trying to survive and trying to run away from them. And so I like that moment, but I think they do it good in the show as well, where, like Henry's not a violent person. He's holding an empty gun on Joel, and he's like, well, you're trying to get out of here. I know the way out of here. You just have to like be the tip of the spear, basically, to get us through this. And it's really good interactions. Sam in the show is deaf and communicates either with sign language through Henry, or he's got one of those, I don't know what toy that is, but he's got basically like a marker, like a magic erase marker that he does this, and so I think that's a really good touch. And I love the friendship building, and it just shows that like kids are just so innocent and just can make friends so fast, because Henry or Sam and Ellie become friends like literally overnight, and I love their relationship. What else happens? Oh, that's when Henry's like, we're gonna go down. I keep getting Henry and Sam mixed up. I'm sorry. We're gonna go down through the tunnels, and we're gonna go. Like, it should bring us out right at the gate of the QZ, and we should be able to get out of here. I love. And then knowing Melanie Lynskey's character, turns out that Henry ratted out her brother, who was the leader of the rebellion, to get Sam some meds that he desperately needed, but Fedra, apparently this Fedra, like we've seen the Boston QZ Fedra where like, yeah, they're militarized, but like, martial law, like I guess could be good in like this crazy time, but in, you give the wrong people power and something bad is going to happen. And that's what Henry was telling Joel and Ellie, where it's like, our Fedra was terrible. They were killing us. They were assaulting us. They were doing a lot of bad stuff. And you can only do that for so long. And you forget that it's been 20 years of that, and they just rose up. So it's been quite a bit. But that's why Melanie Lynskey is going so hard after Henry, is because he got her brother killed. And there's a great scene. Like, Melanie Lynskey is so good. She's such an underrated actor. I feel like underrated is a term that gets thrown around a lot. But I feel like, I don't know, I'd call Melanie Lynskey underrated. Like, people that know who she is and have seen her work know she's great. But, she's not a household name. But her saying, like, my brother was the leader. He knew what he had to do against Fedra, but he knew what to do after that as well. I don't know what to do after that. I'm smart enough to lead this revolution, and Fedra's the bad guys, but I don't know what to do after that, and I am driven by revenge, and I want my revenge against Henry. And maybe that's the wrong thing to do, but I don't care. And I like that scene. I really do. It humanizes someone because... But also, what is it called? It's called like kicking the dog or something, is a term that I've seen going around the internet where, we saw it in Falcon and Winter Soldier with like the Flag Smashers. Like, oh, they're a terrorist group. Oh, no, turns out they just want like medicine and food for people that have been blipped back and like displaced after the blip. But then like, in one of the episodes, she like bombs a hospital for no reason. It's like, oh yeah, those are the bad guys. Like, I don't think they went as far as that, but she's interrogating other people that have ratted out to Fedra, and she's like, you're gonna just do time, and then you'll be fine. Just tell me where Henry and Sam are. And then someone tells them, and then she's like, no, kill them all. And so it's like stuff like that where it is a criticism where moments like this, watching Attack on Titan, there's so many shades of gray. Watching Game of Thrones, there's so many shades of gray. Like, I always say, like, the Battle of Blackwater is my favorite battle in Game of Thrones. People like Battle of the Bastards or, On the Wall. But in those, there's a good side you're rooting for, and there's a bad side you're rooting for. In the Battle of Blackwater Bay, you're looking at Stannis Baratheon, who you don't really like, and, he's already used, like, the demon to murder his brother, and then they're going up against the Lannisters, who you definitely hate. So it's like a good like shades of gray about, it's like, who do you want to win? Like, do you want to see Tyrion die? I guess not. But do you want to see like Baratheons like take over the throne? I think like he's the lesser of two evils. Is he? I don't know. So that's why that was always like one of my favorite battles in Game of Thrones. And I feel like we could have done without that, of like, yeah, she wants her revenge, but she's also the lesser of two evils with Fedra. And that may still be true, and maybe most people got that out of it. But, like, it did make me think back to, like, Falcon Winter Soldier and stuff like that. We're like, don't forget, these guys are evil. Don't forget that. These guys are the bad guys. And, like, the opening scene where they're, like, executing all the Fedra people and, like, executing, like, whoever ratted on them and stuff like that. But I think they do a great job of like the suspense of like them going underground and be like, oh yeah, this was full of infected, but one of the guards told me that it hasn't been for the last 2 or 3 years. It was very scary, very frightening. And then once they come out, it's a great video game scene with like the guy in the tower who's got the sniper, and Joel takes him out and then is helping out with like all the other people are coming, all the Melanie Lynskey rebels are coming to get Henry and Sam and Joel and Ellie, and Joel's up in the sniper tower taking them out, and it's straight from the video game. It's so great. But man, when the infected come out, it's such just a perfect, like, the chaos ensues after, but what I love is that first static shot of people just staring at the hole and just firing as like all the infected come out. And that, I said it before, I think, maybe, where I just love that we're seeing more hordes. Because, like, when you play the game, obviously you can't fight a horde because you don't have enough ammo. You barely find, like, a stick to, beat someone back with. And, I watched that game Days Gone, where you're just fighting hordes and you have machine guns and stuff like that. Yeah, that's not The Last of Us. So you do fight a lot infected, but never like in huge numbers like this. But I like that we're seeing that, because that's how the world gets taken over. These full-on sprinting infected people biting you, and that's how the world would get taken over. Like, I like The Walking Dead, but I never believed that the world would get taken over in a second. What's that book? World War Z does a great job of explaining how it happens. Really good. But the chaos ensues. The bloater comes out, and I wish we'd gotten a little more of the bloater, where like you see him rip that guy's head off, and it's a perfect video game moment. But it looked amazing. The CGI, and like, I guess it was like a practical suit with like CGI over it. It looked so good. The little girl clicker in the car with like doing like the cartwheel in there was so creepy. And then Joel helps out Ellie, Henry, and Sam escape. And they make it out of there. They make it to an apartment, and Ellie and Sam are hanging out. And it turns out Sam has been bitten. And it's a great, super sad moment of like, do you think, he has something of like, do you think people are still alive and infected, or do you think like, you're just a zombie? And she says, I don't know. And what I love about this and what they're foreshadowing, when she's like, oh, I got bit and I'm immune. So here, let me give you some blood on this wound and it'll help. And he's like, will you stay up with me? And she says yes. And she wakes up and he's turned, and Henry has to kill his own brother because he's attacking Ellie. And then Henry kills himself, and it's terrible and so sad. And I don't know which one I like which one hit me harder either. I think the game hit me harder, but probably just because it was the first time. And I think you spend a little more time with Henry and Sam, because you like in the video game, you escape the city, and you jump off a bridge, land on the shore. Henry and Sam rescue you. Then you go through the tunnel and you find like all those people living in the tunnel, or that were living there. And then you come out to a neighborhood and they came back. And so like, it's a little longer in the game, like time you spent with Henry and Sam. So maybe that's why it hit me more, is that you spend longer with them and you get to know them a little bit more. But like, I wish we'd met like Henry and Sam in the middle of like episode 4. And then this entire episode 5 is like them trying to escape. That's probably like my only criticism of this episode, is that I wish I'd gotten more Henry and Sam time. It's still so well done. It's still like everyone was tweeting out about like how hard it hit them. And again, I think this just because I've played the game 3 times, so I knew what was coming and when it was going to come. But I still think it's so effective. It's so sad. It hits you so hard. I love that Joel took the time to bury them, and Ellie is the one that says like, it's time to go. Let's go. And it's like, Ellie's starting to harden. Ellie's starting to realize what this world is and what you have to be to survive it. And it's heartbreaking. It's like, oh, cool, she's toughening up, but it's also like the most heartbreaking thing ever to watch a child like lose its innocence and like so fast. And they're doing such a good job with this show, and Bella and Pedro are just giving such good performances. And Melanie Lynskey, who dies by a zombie, is like, what a powerhouse actor to have for basically an episode and a half, to just come in and be like a very threatening human bad guy, like putting a face to like these nameless raiders that they are in the game. It's so good. I can't wait for episode 6. Like, I was late because I had work. Friday I had work and then an event, and then Saturday I had a 12-hour day, and then Sunday was the Super Bowl, so we watched it Sunday night, and then I came back here. So I'm sorry this review is so late, guys. I appreciate you guys watching. I feel like there's something else I wanted to say about this, but I think I'll end it because we're already at 20 minutes, and I've been rambling on for forever. But I can't wait to see what they do next. And I understand the time constraint they have, because knowing what I know about the game, and I won't say anything, there's still a lot to come. And they said that the whole game is going to be season 1. So we got a lot to cover. And it says 10 episodes. I thought there was 9, but maybe there's 10. But so far, they've done such a perfect job of adapting this and making stuff their own while staying true to the source material. Like that, this episode is so perfect with that. Like Bill and Frank, they completely changed everything, and I was okay with everything they did. Every change they made, I loved it. But this, like, they was such a good mix of like, yeah, they're not just faceless raiders. We're going to put a face to them with Melanie Lynskey, but also here's the sniper tower thing you love doing in the video game, and, you know, the trap that, you know, the raiders set. It's like a lot of the same stuff. So they're doing so well, and people that have complaints about, like, the only complaint that I have is like him not saying like he ain't even hurt. Literally the only complaint I have about the thing. But I'll stop rambling. Thank you guys so much. If you guys want to subscribe to my Patreon, you get these a day early. So make sure you guys subscribe, and thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Have a great day, and I will see you. I'm going to try and do the next one like Sunday night. It just depends. I like doing every two, but, you know, if it's a big one, I'll do every one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye-bye.